Hey guys, it's Jan, also known as Emblusser, and today we're gonna actually start building the AR chassis beginner setup. And so this section is gonna be covering the parts that we're gonna use. Basically, the premise of the AR chassis build basically is to be able to run a tuned class car. And the tuned class car is basically a car that you build without cutting anything other than maybe the body or stuff like that, or a little bit of the chassis if you have like some screw clearance issues. And this is for people that are coming into the hobby and just starting out. So it's going to be fairly basic, but I'm going to go through the kit, and also all the other parts that you're going to need. So first things first, the what I'm using doesn't have to be this one that you're using, as long as it's an AR chassis car. I'm starting with the item number 95062, the Aero Avante Violet Special. This is a little bit hard to find now. And one of the best things about it is that it already comes with the polycarbonate body, and that saves us quite a bit of money. And it already also has hard tires and 3.5 to 1 gear ratio right here. 3.5 to 1 gear ratio, and reinforced AR chassis as well. So that's going to be the kit that we're going to use. Let me see. Let me use the cover for my parts overview. All right, so the next thing is we're going to cover the transmission. All right, so for the transmission, you're going to need some bearing roller spacer, item number 94768. One set is going to be enough. Two sets of the 94389 AO620. I already have some over here that we're just going to go clean. And also, we're going to be removing the brass O-rings that seal it. These things actually slow down the bearings, so if you want to see how to do that, I'm going to put it up on the upper right corner. There's another video that already shows how to do that in my channel. Next item number is 15400 fluorine gear shaft for the gears. This works for other chassis too, not just AR via Super 2, Super X, some of the older kits as well. And some 72 millimeter hollow shafts, 15297. You might need to buy more. I have 3 extra if I need to, if I find some shafts that are not straight. And the hollow propeller shaft, item number 15205. That's what we're gonna use for the propeller shaft. These things are straighter than the normal shaft that come with a box. And then we're gonna go through the rollers basically. First set of rollers is the item number 15418 double aluminum rollers with the rubber ring. If you want to be able to bite more into the corner, you can use the rubber ring. We're only going to use one of them on the build. We're probably going to put it on the right front corner. And then the next one is 13 millimeter lightweight aluminum ball race rollers. It's a little bit lighter. We're also going to use this for the front as well. Item number 95301. Let me see, there's some stabilizers that we're going to use with that. Item number 95357. We're going to be using the 11 millimeter what do you call it, carbon, what do you call it? I think these are carbon, or are they just black? They're probably just black. 11 millimeter stabilizer head over here. In addition to this, this is the multi-brake set for MS chassis, item number 15399. We're going to be using these parts for the double aluminum roller. These actually work well with those. And the rollers for the back, item number 95237 HG 19 millimeter rollers. I'm gonna put these on the bottom, actually, on the bottom in the rear. And this is what's gonna go on the top and rare. Item number 95326. I actually need to buy more of these. I'm running out of these ones. These are the plastic ring red 19mm rollers. And 2 sets of item number 15454 2mm cap screw set, 25 and 30. You're only mostly gonna need the 30mm from the set, and some of the stuff that comes in handy in the set is the included lock nuts over here. We're gonna be using these lock nuts as well in the build, and some spacer sets. Item number 15473. It comes with a 12mm, 6.76 and 3, and then 1.5mm spacers. Those are going to be pretty crucial for the build. And some additional screws if you need them. Item number 15508, 15, 20, 25, and 30mm if you need to use them for side dampers and stuff like that. Next set, we're gonna go through some dampers. Let me look up some part number because I actually have run out of this particular piece. Item number 15459. I don't have these new anymore, so we're gonna be reusing some of this. As you can see, these are used, but that's okay. It's not too terrible. 15459. It's gonna come with these dampers as well. This cylinder shape and the bowl shaped dampers as well, so we're gonna mount that on the side. And let me see. The rear damper is still gonna be the mass damper set with ball connectors and the block, basically mass damper block set in the back. For tires, we're gonna be using the super hard low profile tire black 95323. We're going to be using these. These are really good in terms of what do you call it, for cornering and for absorption of impact as well. So that's why we picked those. And we're going to add some stuff that we didn't include in the MA chassis build, which is a rear underguard plate. That's what I'm going to use. Is item number 15242, the Super X chassis plate. And this is I'll show you guys how to use this, and some of you may already know how to do it, but this is a pretty cool way to ensure that your rear doesn't catch on the wall too much. Other FRP, this is item number 15394, multi-roller setting stay. It's going to be mounted on the bumper at the front for the underguard. Lower that underguard a little bit more. This is where the front roller is going to be mounted. Item number 95104, multi-roller setting stay. And that's carbon. And then, still one of my favorites, I'm not going to change this. Item number 95257, HG carbon wide rear stay, 3mm. And last but not least, I am including these. Luckily, I've found them. Kind of hard to find. Some matching color underguard right here and brake set. The underguard is going to be 95215 low friction purple. There you go, that's what we're going to use. Matches this color of the build. And the item number 95214 brake set for AR chassis. Of course, it's going to be mounted in the back. Alright, now we're going to move on to start the build. First things first, we're going to be taking out the rollers so that we could actually start soaking them into the lighter fluid. So I just spoke to you guys earlier. I'm only going to be using one of each roller on this build. It's going to be a bit of an offset, just one of the dishes and then one of the double aluminum rollers. In addition to that, just a pair of each of the plastic ring and ringless sets, basically. So take those out first and start soaking them on the lighter fluid. That should be standard fare now. You should already know to do that. So yes, basically soak them in. Right. For now, we're just going to leave that soaking. Later on, we're actually going to start agitating that. And the AO 620s, I have some here that I've already removed the O-ring on, and we're just gonna soak them. 4 for the axles, and then 1 for the actual counter gear. We're gonna put one of them inside of the counter gear as well. So I'm just gonna drop all 5 of them into there. I'm gonna agitate this a little bit. Alright, I'm gonna start cutting into that. This one, I'm gonna do that later. You're gonna need some special tools for that. Let's see what else we're gonna need in here. This pack as well. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, I recommend using the Torque Tune 2 motor for this build. Generally, the Torque Tune 2 motor is going to perform better than the other tuned motors. Let me see. Okay. All right. So now that we've come up to working on the wheels, before we do that, we're going to be piercing these wheels, and you just need some of the tools that I've mentioned in my other build, the MA chassis build. So before we start working on the actual transmission side, we're going to pierce these wheels first. So let me set that aside. I've already picked out the ring that you need. This is a 20.6 ring. That's the ring that you're going to use to be able to center this wheel and then drill through it with the wheel piercer. And the wheel piercer is an Object 324 wheel piercer, and that really is only available. Actually, it's not available anymore, sadly, as far as I remember, because the company Object 324 is not in business anymore, as far as I've been told. So to remind you how it works, to show you how it works, this wheel piercer, you need to drive a 2.1 millimeter bit through it, and what you need to do is you need to mount this into here like that, right? And then the pin is going to center the wheel. I'm gonna loosen this up a little bit. All right, make sure. And then what that pin is gonna do is I'm gonna center that in there. And let me just use my Proxxon. Here you go. My Proxxon FBS 115E, and it already has a 2.1 millimeter bit installed on it. Just make sure that it's straight when you start using it. All right, that's it. I put that down. It doesn't take long. Once it goes inside, once it goes pop, you'll feel it. And then that is your pierced wheel right there. All right, I'm just gonna repeat that for the other 3 wheels. Now that I've pierced these 4 wheels, we're gonna put away the wheel piercer. We don't need it anymore, at least for the rest of the build. The next step is to find some straight shafts, so that like on our build we don't have to worry about the transmission too much. And we're gonna be using some mixture of some stuff. We're gonna be using the 1.99 mil 1.99 in a moto shaft tester. Let me see, there it is. And we're gonna be using some tissue. That's mostly for cleaning the shafts. We're gonna soak the tissue with some isopropyl alcohol just to go clean the shafts to make sure that there's no dirt on them. Yeah, see how dirty they are from manufacturing? Okay. Let's go check them on my 1.99. Okay, that's... Oof. Oh my goodness. See, this is what happens when you're careless. This is what happens when you're careless. Yeah, it goes through pretty well. Alright, check this one again. Yeah, this one has a slight bend, but you know what? That's also pretty damn good. Okay, let me check it this way. Yeah, that is a very slight bend, if at all. Okay, just to satisfy my OCD, I'm gonna try and open one more to see if I find an even straighter shaft than this one. Okay, alright, those are pretty good. I'm gonna stick with those. This one I'm just gonna use in a later build. So out of 2 packages, we found 2 straight. That's pretty good batting average. When I install these, try to be careful. So what you want to do is you want to follow the actual shape of the hole, right? You want to be able to follow the shape of the hole and then hammer it in. So just be careful, go slow. Make sure you're doing it one side, which is the offset, and then the next you're going to install to is the non-offset one, the one that's closer to the chassis. So let's go ahead and do this one first. Here you go. And then when you hammer this in, try to hammer it as straight down as possible. You don't want to bend it. And if you have something that you could use like this, that could help you hammer the actual shaft into the wheel. This Enomoto shaft installer can basically help you do that. Alright, so it's a pierced wheel. Alright, so we're gonna leave it protruding like that on that side. We're gonna install the other wheel shaft onto this piece, onto this narrower offset like this one. Alright, so that is another pierced wheel. Okay, so instead of the normal setup where we're gonna go use 4 super hard tires, what I've decided to do is to use half hard tires with half super hard tires. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the hard tires on the back, right? So these are gonna be the back wheels. The wheels that are gonna have that wider offset. Excuse me. And we're gonna go put the super hard tires on the narrow offset wheels like these ones. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the. We're gonna go look for 2 of the more uniform hard tires. Looks like these 2 are going to be fairly uniform, so I'll cut these ones out. So these tires are going to go put on the rear wheels, so nothing too fancy about that. Just going to install them slowly so that you don't overstretch the tires. If you overstretch them, they'll be more likely to come loose. Okay guys, I've found my super hard tires now. We're going to cut out two of them as well. The transmission of AR is a little bit more difficult than normal. We're going to need to use some of the small spacers, not the spacers, but the small washers, to be able to easily set those up. And you can't, as far as I know, you can't buy them separately, so you'll have to go fish them out from the parts that you've used up. But in the interest of time, what we're going to do is we're going to use the supply that I already have. We're going to do lots of adjusting. Use the roller spacers, these ones right here. While we're doing the transmission on the back, we're going to be doing a test fit with the 1.4 hollow propeller shaft. We just want to make sure that the gears mesh well. So let's remove that from its packaging. So before we continue with the setup of the gear, hold on. Yeah, forget how annoying this can be. So one little trick I do whenever I'm setting up my transmission, if I don't want anything to move, I just use pinion gear to hold the shaft in place. So this goes up. There you go. And it's a little loose, so as you can see, the propeller, the gear is a little bit pushed out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna push the gear in, because there's still a little bit of slack in between these 2 points, and I don't want it shaking back and forth too much. So I'm gonna use this tool that I have, the 324 object propeller shaft puller. This time what we're going to do first is we're going to adjust how far out the shaft is going to be protruding. So on this side we're not going to do so much first. We're going to do this side first. We're going to push the pinion a little bit further into the shaft. So for now, what I like to do is I like to put the shaft in like this and then hammer it in from this side. So I'm going to go back to the little hammer that I have. All right. So now it's protruding a little bit far. Let's see if that fits okay. Let's check the gear on that side. And then enter. Okay, now it's a little too tight. So what we're going to do is going to dial back the protrusion. So we're going to push this in a little bit first before this side. So to do that, you put the shaft in like this, like that, right? Pushed up against the channel like this. I'm going to take the pin and then the dial right here, right? And we're going to slowly adjust how far protruding that shaft is. So I'm going to adjust that real quick on this side, and then I'm going to adjust this side too, just a little bit. There you go. All right, so now the shaft is sitting in the right spot. It's not shaking too far forward and backward. And you can see it's meshed very well on this side as well. So we're gonna leave it like that. So it looks like I don't want the crown gear to be too close to the pinion of the propeller shaft right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a 1.5 millimeter spacer over here on between the two gears right here. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna get one of the 1.5 millimeter spacers right here. All right, so that is a 1.5 millimeter spacer right there. We're gonna insert it in between this gear and this gear. So we're gonna go pull the pinion out. Now we have a 1.5 millimeter spacer in between that. What that's gonna do is that's gonna prevent the gears from like sliding back and forth too much in between themselves. And then we're gonna install the other wheel for this side. Make sure to line up the hexes as well too before you install it. All right, now it's time to use the Arrow Max. We're gonna push the shaft through to the other side. Okay, so now I've installed one of the axles. Now, before we go here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close up this side of the setup. I want to be able to keep that shaft in its place. We're gonna mount the 3.5 to 1 counter gear over here. We're gonna go look for that shaft. Alright, so found the fluorine coated gear shaft. That's gonna be for the counter gear. We're gonna install it on this side. Now the reason why we're using the fluorine coated gear shaft is because of how straight the shaft is. And now the straighter the shaft, basically the better the transmission is going to be. So we're going to go ahead and install this. And before we do that, we're going to go get another AO620 and mount it on the counter gear. Okay, so what you're going to see is that the counter gear is shifting back and forth a little bit, and what you don't want that to happen is because when the counter gear shifts forward, it kind of grinds into the spur gear at the bottom, at least this wall right here. So what you want to do is you want to put something in between the bearing, the AO620 bearing, and the wall over here, so that it supports the gear, preventing it from sliding forward and backward. Let's slide this out real quick. We're gonna use some small washers. So we're gonna do test fits, okay? We're gonna fit it a couple of times just to make sure. Okay, so now that we've put the two spacers, you see how it's not sliding back and forth, but the gear is still freely movable within its axis. So the gear is not, like, there's still a little bit of give, but not too much give that this gear is going to hit the spur gear on the bottom side. So that helps add a little bit more smoothness to the transmission. Or maybe I put a little too much. Let's remove one spacer again. Oh, okay. Looks like this was proving another issue right here. You see on this side, you can see a little bit of plastic protruding. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little bit of that off. There you go. That is much better. Okay. I thought it was because of the counter gear. Okay. So we're going to put back the small spacer on this counter gear. That's going to help it stabilize it again. There's a lot less wiggle. You can see there's very little back and forth. Alright, so let me put some more oil, not too much. So now we're gonna do the gears on this side. Let's get another AO620, but this time we're going to go at it from the opposite side. We're gonna come in from this side. One more spacer. And we're gonna line up the shaft and the hex. Time to do the same thing. We're going to push the shaft from this side to the other side. So now that we've installed the gears, we're going to close up the shaft on this side. I mean the gears. Let's hook. So that's the transmission right there. Funny thing is, AR is actually better if you reverse it. Use it as an FMAR car. We're going to take a quick listen to the transmission of the car. Okay, so one of the tricks that I've learned for AR is if you have a little bit of a problem, try and press it, and that'll minimize some of the noise of your transmission. AR is a little bit more difficult to set up than MA, so it's going to be a little bit more noisy. So one of the tricks I learned is for you, at least this is a good way to fix it, and it's just a brake piece, so there's no problems, there's no issues actually doing this. So let me take this off first, and the batteries off as well. I put a brake pad over here. What that does is that it presses the motor up, and that actually helps the transmission better actually mesh with each other. It's not that it loosens a little bit, and let me see, or it tightens up a little bit actually. That's what happens. So let me go find some brakes real quick. Okay guys, so take a black brake like this. Basically this is a remnant of the last build that I did, which is for the MA chassis. Look at that ridge right there. Try to measure how much you gotta cut. Let's cut about, let's say, this much. Let me just double check and make sure. Yep, that's pretty good. So cut that. I'll pick up that brake later, and put a piece of the black brake right here. It's very simple, and then tape it onto that ridge right here. What that's going to do is that's going to help support the motor and then push it up against the gears, making it a little bit tighter. So let me hook that back in first. There you go. It's a little bit of an improvement on the transmission. Okay. We're just gonna break that in and continue. We're gonna first mount the underguard at the front.